Greetings, I am Lies and I use she, her.
And I am Scandal and I use they, them.
And let's play a game together.
Yeah.
Alright, welcome aboard to a special playthrough of Meeting in the Flesh.
Yes.
Which we are going to be doing as a precursor to a release of a new game by the same studio.
Yes, InkEthic Studio is actually working on doing something called Motya or Motya. I'm not exactly sure. Motya. Motya Awakening. Mm-hmm. And we're really excited for it, so here we go, you guys!
Yeah, so we're going to play this first and lead up to the preview for that, and it's going to be amazing.
We are. It'll be fantastic.
Some warnings. First, this game features all of these things. We've played it before. It's not super explicit. We also have it toned down.
Yes, there's actually an option in the options to actually have the adult content turned greater or lower. But for everyone else who cannot read, we're going to go, thank you for downloading. Before we start, this game features text descriptions and non-explicit visual descriptions of blood and gore, torture, vor and cannibalism, sex, and hand-holding. By continuing, you agree to do so at your own risk.
We found all of those things to be depicted in very thoughtful ways.
Yes. After years of waking up at the same time every day, I've grown far too accustomed to it. I'm awake even before my alarm beetle goes off. The air outside must still be cold from the rain last night. The room feels a little chilly, and there's the strong compulsion to stay curled up in my blanket. My bed is enticingly warm, after all, so I decide to remain still until it's absolutely necessary for me to rise. Keeping my eyes closed, I consider what to wear today. The weather today is supposed to be cloudy. Wearing an extra cloak might not be a bad idea, just one of the lighter ones.
Even if what I'd really like to do is wear my entire bed out the door.
Yes, absolutely. And we have this lovely option where we can actually hide the text.
And see
and you
all
can
the illustrations.
See the beautiful background. So, the InkEthic Studio, so Hal and Miru, or Fal, if that would be more preferred, both actually work together, as far as I understand on this. Hal did a lot of the art himself, and Miru, they did
all the writing.
Did a lot of pretty much all the writing, and then actually also, I think, did some recommendations on, like, color and background and character and all that sort of thing, and it's really cool.
And this is the alarm beetle.
This is the alarm beetle.
And we're playing through this because we haven't played it for almost a year, and we're very excited to revisit it before we see what they've come up with that's new.
Or if we can't get it done in time, then guess what? Aha! The alarm beetle starts chirping, and I lay a hand on it, even before its first trill is over, gently silencing it. Please shut up.
That sounds so cute, though.
It
just
really
being like, you are such a good baby.
I crack my eyes open to squint at the light gently filtering into my room. Get up or one more minute.
I love that this is the first choice. It makes me so happy.
It's very person. Honestly, based on... We're just... One more minute.
Based on the... I want to stay in bed as long as possible. One more minute.
Please, one more minute. I'll keep my eyes closed for just one more minute. I exhale slowly and count to 60. The comfortable haze of sleep threatens to creep back over me, but I ward it off with some effort. 58. 59. 60.
Wake up! Or one more minute.
Just one... You know what? It's okay. We can get up.
I have to get up now.
We're gonna get up. I better get up. Alright. Let's get going.
We have a name now.
We do. We are apparently Vil.
Also.
We can also now hide the text, because this is us with our eyes fully awake.
I see.
Look at this beautiful,
fabulous
fleshy room. I love it.
I'm also like, can you open the dresser drawers? I need to know.
Sometimes I wonder if they're just sort of like, this is my statue. That exists here. It's a weird sort of reflection in that sense, kind of like, of our world, where we have these things, but actually, shockingly, we don't use them very often. Because actually, to tell you how many times I've had a bedside table, but I don't use it. It's my bedside drawer.
And you almost never use it, or it's just sort of a catch-all that you never go through unless an emergency happens.
Because this one is well used. This one is not.
I can see that. Yep.
I also kind of wonder, actually, if it has anything to do with the light.
Oh, it might be.
So, like, there's more light over here, so this remains cleaner, and this grows more because it's darker.
I could see that.
So you'd have to actually actively, break it. I crawl out of bed and begin my usual morning routine. It's become such a deeply ingrained habit that I hardly need to ever think about what I'm doing. I splash my face with water first and wipe off any pus that's accumulated overnight. Toweling my face off, I return to the open windows and air out the place. The atmosphere outside is crisp from last night's rain, the ground still a little moist, and there's a pleasant miasma that stings at the nose. Poking my head out the window, I take a few deep breaths to chase off the last tendrils of sleep before withdrawing back inside and making my bed. I find my way to my table to retrieve my usual breakfast, a block of salt and a cup of water. Some people go without eating in the morning, or only drink water, but I found it hard to last the morning without some salt. The crystals crunch between my teeth as I look for a cloak of appropriate thickness. Maybe I should get two.
I say, if I can't find the thick, fluffy one, I'm getting two thinner ones.
Right, exactly. The cloak I'm looking for turns out to be abandoned in a corner, and I swallow my mouthful of salt as I pull it on. The salt burns down the full length of my throat, and I wash it down with water. That done, I smooth my hands down the front of my cloak to brush off any stray salt crystals, and to make sure there aren't any unsightly wrinkles. I want to look presentable.
I love that they've just described that they have this routine down pat, completely round. Could do it asleep with their eyes closed.
Uh-huh.
Except for, where the heck is that cloak anyway?
Right! Honestly, though, that's very charming. I know what the routine is, but you're going, the thing wasn't in the place where I put it. Where
I usually put it. Suggesting a level of, I always do the same thing, but I'm not perfectly organized.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, I think, very charming.
Mm-hmm. I want to look presentable. Even if I'm just a delivery agent, I still want to look good for my clients. My entire routine doesn't take more than 15 minutes. I've streamlined it well over the years.
That's me getting ready for work.
Yes.
I give myself about 20 minutes to do everything from, like, wake up to get out the door.
Yeah, that was basically me whenever I went to jobs. I actually purposely would try to also sleep as long as possible, and then get up and basically go immediately into work mode, get all my stuff done, and then just go out the door.
Yep.
That was always how
I feel Bill a lot. I'm like, yep, that's me.
That's Bill. I glance outside as I close my window. The streets outside are still mostly quiet, with only a few people bustling about. The owner of the corner store is quietly sweeping the streets, the rhythmic scratch of brush bristles against the damp dirt echoing down the block. A few crows linger on a nearby roof, muttering to themselves. They seem a bit more excited than usual.
I'm just trying to imagine the crows of this world, given that this is a monster game, and I would deeply love to see them.
Me too. My room falls quiet when I close the window. As I leave, I lock the door and jostle it in 1, 2, 3 times to make sure it's secure.
I don't want anyone hassling my alarm beetle.
I know, it's really important, or make sure my alarm beetle doesn't get out. Then I head down the street. Because honestly, that's very responsible pet ownership.
Mm-hmm. Based on that, the beetle either, one, stays well trained and on the top of the little shelf, or wanders the room freely and therefore needs a safe environment to wander.
I wonder sometimes actually how Vil caretakes for the alarm beetle. Is it about, like, do you get all the moisture you need from the walls itself, which are made out of flesh? Or, like, food as well? Like, how does that work? But, you know, that's the fun about these games. They're up to your brain.
It would be very interesting if, like, basically there was essentially a biome in the room where the beetle takes care of itself, but you've trained it to go off for you.
Right.
Or, you know, sort of like, essentially, you know, a rooster, but instead of it going, you know, I see light, I'm going to crow.
Right.
It's there's another cue, and then it goes off for you.
Yeah.
And that's really cute.
The crows bellow at me when I walk past them, and I glance up to give them a smile. They remember people's faces, so it's best to stay on their good side, if possible.
Just like real crows.
Yes. Past them, the sky is a deeper green than it usually is. I squint and shield my eyes as I look up at the suns. That's right. I'd forgotten. The eclipse is in 2 days!
Oh, yeah!
And there's the beautiful background.
I love that the game actually takes a second to show you the backgrounds before, as it shifts to new scenes, because there's a lot of thought put into them. I mean, Hal's come a really long way as an artist since doing these.
Fantastic.
But, like, they're still amazing and very, very nicely done. Like,
yes.
But you can really see a difference in the progress of his work. He's been working, like, really stalwartly on I will improve as well as develop my craft.
It is also a thing that he has said specifically. He really enjoys doing backgrounds. They're very relaxing for him. And I think you can kind of get that tone, because I've always found his backgrounds in their own way to be very relaxing. They're very nice, and they're just fun. I really appreciate somebody who will also go, I'm going to use unconventional things like flesh, which of course is a world built together with Miru, but I do like that, and that's where he's gone as an artist, and I appreciate it.
I also enjoy that they describe this whole game as cozy horror. Basically, like, if you had to give it a genre, it's a cozy horror romance.
Which is really funny, because technically speaking, as far as I understand actually with the horror, at least in the way that Hollywood would categorize it, this wouldn't be a horror at all.
It would not.
Because, 1, there's a romance, and 2, everybody survives.
Oh, spoilers!
Oh, I'm sorry. But I'm just talking about genre conventions. But,
yeah.
Though this is really great. Anyway.
I say basically it only has the visual conventions of a horror.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The primary sun looms largest overhead, but its smaller brothers don't lag far behind, the three forming a lopsided triangle. The moon lingers lower down, closer to the horizon, like a pale paper cutout laid against the sky.
That sounds so cute.
Honestly, it's a really good descriptor, though. Like, sometimes you really do just look up at the moon, you go, God, it just looks like it was sort of gently pasted, or like it was just kind of cut.
Like it's a separate little thing, yeah.
It's normal for them to be scattered like this, but in 2 days, for just a few moments, they'll align. The three suns all overlapping at one point in the sky, blocked from our view by one of our two moons. An absolute solar eclipse.
Excited about the eclipse coming up?
Oh, hello, Agari. I give a slight jump when a voice chirps from behind me. I whirl around so quickly I almost end up entangled in my own cloak.
Whoa, didn't mean to scare you there. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. I was just thinking about things.
Hi. By the way, I was lost in my own thoughts.
My whole brain going...
I've been here the whole time. I saw nothing.
What? I perceived nothing. Absolutely. One of my neighbors, Agari, from just down the block. She looks more jittery than usual, a string of saliva dribbling down from her mandibles as she also casts her gaze up towards the sky.
Nervous. Oh, it's so exciting, isn't it? Just 2 more days and it will be the eclipse. Are you thinking of doing anything special on that day, sweetie?
I smile and shake my head. Nothing in particular. I'm just looking forward to seeing it.
I'm just gonna be here.
I'll just be here. That feels like me. I'm like, everybody going, here's a holiday. Me. I will exist.
I will exist on that holiday. Yeah?
Yeah.
And after it.
Yep.
Oh, that's also fine. But you really should, you really think hard. Just in case there is something special you want to do on that day.
Oh, well... An absolute solar eclipse only occurs once every century or so. A rare event. I squint up at the sky. Perhaps because of that, people will view it as an auspicious phenomenon. It's said that if you make an important life decision or attempt something new on the day of an absolute solar eclipse, the results are more likely to be favorable. I've never believed in such superstitions, but I know most of the city is looking forward to the eclipse. A lot of people propose to loved ones, explore new areas, or change their jobs on Eclipse Day. As a result, I've heard it's considered something of a headache for the community organizers who need to deal with the chaos. Or the fallout. Still, the excitement building in the air is almost palpable.
I'm just imagining like all these people who essentially are in the economy in one way or another going, are all of my employees going to shift job? Am I suddenly going to have 100 new applicants? Anyone who has like whatever living situations there are being like, moving house today! 45 people all over the street dragging couches. Here I go!
Regardless of my own beliefs, I don't see any reason to squelch anyone else's excitement. I look back to my neighbor. Do you have any plans for the eclipse day, Agari?
I do love that Vil is very considerate that way.
It's really, I'm like, but also, you're a public servant. And I appreciate that, like, so it is my worldview that public servants should be, well, servants and polite to the people that they're helping. Because in my experience, usually those are volunteer positions where I feel like they should be, ideally, and also positions where you are encouraged to serve the public. Like, you're trying to represent these people. Why would you be mean to them?
I was gonna say, and I really like that Vil seems to see it that way as well. Going, my job is something that serves people, and there's no reason that I would be any less good at it. And I think Vil has an affinity for that job, basically because they care about people and their experience as well. I think Vil, I like that Vil is very sensitive to other people's experiences.
Yeah, it's really nice and refreshing. I can't tell you how many times sometimes where I listen to a pro tag and I just kind of go, while apparently you have the word of God and you can just figure out stuff, you're also like a huge jerk.
You're really only about yourself, and you don't think about anybody else.
Yeah, it's really
and they're kind of there to awkwardly support your experience.
Oh, I do.
She gives an excited chirp, clasping her hands together.
I wish I could chitter better, but right now I'm not warmed up enough.
I'm going to visit my dear friend across town. We had a rather bad fight years ago and haven't spoken since, but we agreed to meet on Eclipse Day to talk things out, and I'm sure we'll be able to rekindle our friendship.
Honestly, I like that. Going like, they are still my dear friend, and I do want to talk to them. And this is such a rare opportunity. You know what? Let's try.
Yeah, and also going, it is really nice of going, I still consider them a friend.
Uh-huh.
And it's not like, oh yeah, this is the person I had a falling out with, or we used to be friends. It's just, this is my friend.
Uh-huh.
And I also like that it's both of you going, well, this is a phenomenal occasion. Let's give it a shot. You know?
Right?
Which is very cool.
Her genuine excitement is heartwarming. I can't help smiling as I give a nod. That sounds wonderful. I hope it goes well.
Thank you, dear. Oh, but I shouldn't keep you for too long. You're on your way to work, aren't you?
Why not again? It's all right. I always head out early, and it was nice hearing about your plans.
Unless you say, stay in bed for one more minute, like 18 times. Which
I wonder if you actually can.
I was
you
gonna
haven't
say,
tried that?
I don't know how long you're allowed to do one more minute, but I feel like eventually Vil would be like
I'm
I feel
late.
like there
I'm
should be a
late.
cap of being like, I don't have any more minutes to spend. You know? That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, good luck on your work, and do think about something to do for Eclipse Day. It would be such a shame to let the opportunity pass by you.
I give her a small wave as I turn to leave, and she cheerily returns the gesture. Yee. But once I turn the corner, I speed up into a light gallop. Despite what I told her, I hurry a little. I like getting to places a little earlier than necessary.
Vil is like, on time is late.
Yes! Hang on, we gotta show
Early
this
is on
background.
time.
Because this was very brief.
Uh-huh.
This
one's fascinating.
This is fantastic. I love this.
So the thing is like, both of us have worked in manufacturing.
Yes.
This is absolutely manufacturing.
Mm,
like, whether
yes.
they used a reference of some real factory or just, they knew what they were on about, these guys are like, this is a factory. And I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah, yes, you're
Which
correct.
is great. Also, I do love the fact that Vil is so professional as far as things go, because that resonates with me very, very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
And I really am if I get to work on time, I don't have enough mental space to prepare for things, so I have to get there basically a few minutes early to feel like I've gotten there on time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I actually have to say, since we both know Hal, it's kind of funny to come back to this after actually having spent some time with him and going, this really strongly reminds me of Off.
Uh-huh. It
like,
does.
So there's a game that came
That he
out several
loves.
years ago that he loves, that he actually met his fiancée through, Len, and they both met through the game Off, which is
the
about
fan community,
12
basically, yeah.
years ago, basically, and he's really fond of it. So I was just like,
now
man.
that we're both more familiar with it and his art as well, it's like that there is something about this that feels very much like that. You can see the fan.
Yes, you can, and it's very
charming.
It's very sweet. Good morning, boss. The air in the salt processing plant stings at the nose, burning the lungs a little with each breath, and I try not to inhale too deeply. Full-time workers here usually wear masks, unless they happen to have well-developed nasal filters. Since I'm usually in and out of here quickly, I don't bother with masks.
Where's your mask?
I love this!
The boss is amazing.
So good!
I also
Anyway, I was like, follow protocol. It doesn't matter. I don't need a mask. Wear your mask.
I was like, you're only in here for 5 minutes. You know what?
Wear your mask. We
Also,
did that to people all the time at work.
We're in a pandemic. Wear your mask.
Be safe, damn it. My boss is pretty strict, though. It's alright, boss. I'll be out of here pretty quick.
No. Wear your mask. You'll need to wait a few moments.
He thrusts a mask into my hands before I can stop him, then turns away to a nearby table piled high with packages. I give a slightly exasperated sigh. How many times have we had this exact exchange before? Although it's a good indicator of how much the boss cares for his workers, I guess. Put on the mask or pocket. I think he'll just get grumpy.
I think he's probably gonna remind us if we don't put it on, so probably just
And
put
also,
it on.
Vil has a warm, it always felt like to me, experience towards the boss, so I see no reason why to not put on the mask. So
Yeah.
put it on. Might as well just put on the mask. It's a little uncomfortable, especially where the filter brushes against the raw sections of my face, but it does immediately make breathing easier.
I appreciate that it is a mask that's actually designed appropriately for the task it's meant to do.
Yes.
Because one of the big things, just calling to our current moment in history of people having trouble wearing masks, is that they're not well fitted to their faces, or they're not well suited to whatever activity they're doing. Some of them being, you need a much more athletic mask, or you need one with much more space to breathe, or things like that. And that is a big deal when getting to a functional mask.
Yeah, and actually for some people, so I learned that if you start experiencing, so a lot of people when they put on a mask, they'll go, I feel like I'm having a panic attack. And the reason is because your body goes, I feel like I'm being plugged a little bit.
Like
it actually opens up both pathways of your nose and gives you kind of an adrenaline rush because it assumes you're in danger.
Mm-hmm. So if your mask touches your nose or sucks, or any of the fabric sucks against it at all, your body wants to breathe through its mouth. And if you're breathing through your mouth, since we are obligate nose breathers at birth, your body goes, something is very, very wrong.
Yes.
And so having a mask that doesn't inhibit nostril breathing is really important to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm. It does immediately make breathing easier. As I adjust the mask strings, I take a cursory glance around the factory. It's a familiar sight, but its internal workings are always fascinating to watch.
That's why they have an entire series called How It's Made, because it's really fascinating to watch.
Yes, it is, and they also have parody channels that just sort of make it up.
It's still interesting to watch.
It's still it's very hypnotic.
Uh-huh.
A chute at the far end of the room belches out spurts of salt crystals, spilling them into a huge vat. The steady hum of grinding and crunching sometimes seeps through the chute, like the sounds of many small bones being chewed up. On the other side of that chute is the machine that processes the raw salt, breaking up any larger rocks into these smaller crystals.
That's manufacturing.
The ground-up salt needs to be processed further, though. The grinding doesn't get rid of any insects, rocks, or hair clumps that might be present in the raw salt rocks. Workers carry huge buckets of this unprocessed salts to the smaller vats that dot the cavernous rooms. These vats are constantly stirred with long poles, pressing the salt crystals through filters that will catch any unwanted material. The filters quickly clog up with hair and insect wings and need to be swapped out frequently.
I love how specific the things in here are and how relevant they are to the world building.
Especially
when you first get into here, it's like, okay, the game clearly knows what it's about because it's very consistent with its language.
Right.
But there's also an element of, as they build this world, it's very, very clear that the author knew exactly what they wanted. And so all of these things are directly connected to where you live.
Right.
And I really like it.
I do too, honestly. One vat has a worker carefully adding an enormous bucket of flavoring to it. The scent of honey comes wafting through the air, and I inhale deeply. The sweet slick of honey contrasts beautifully to the familiar crisp sting of salt. Honey salt must be delicious. Maybe I'll get to splurge on it someday. But in order to do that, I need to work. What's my quota look like today? I say, sort of, my food, I was distracted.
Honey makes my mouth water.
Thirsty. My voice comes out a little muffled past the mask.
Which is okay. A little more than usual.
I step to the table to help the boss load packages into a cloth bundle. Each package is a block of salt wrapped tight in a piece of fabric. The fabric protects the salt from any moisture while it's in transit, and also catches any pieces that might crumble off. Most of the bundles are wrapped in cheap tan fabric. Those are packages of normal salt, but there are a few packages wrapped in red or yellow cloth, and even fewer wrapped in white cloth. The white ones are mercury, right? The boss grunts in the affirmative. Mercury salt is such a rare treat that I don't deliver it often. That looks like more honey and punishment salt than usual, too.
People getting excited about the eclipse. Treating themselves.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Right. Of course. The boss counts the packages one last time before tying the bundle shut and handing it over to me. There's the rustle of fabric and the crackle of loose salt crystals bumping into each other with each movement, the package weighing heavily in my hands. I tie the fabric tight over one shoulder so the bundle won't come loose or jostle around too much while I'm running.
Very thoughtful with a hard, brittle substance.
It actually is.
I also really enjoy that all the language in here is used very, very comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I read punishment salt, I was like, wait, what? I would just say, but like you glark from context that it's, just a food, and then you continue going. And there's a lot of things in this game that make me really happy like that.
This is very comfortable. It's very cozy.
It's very cozy. And here's the route.
He hands me a scrap of paper with just a few notes jotted on it. I've long since memorized my route, and the paper only notes any exceptions. Who doesn't need salt today, who's getting special salt instead of the usual, who's getting more packages than normal. Usually I don't even need this cheat sheets, but there are a lot of exceptions today. It really does seem like everyone's changing things up in preparation for the eclipse. All the more reason to avoid making mistakes. I'd hate to deliver people the wrong salt and put a damper on the mood. I got it. Pocketing the note, I give the bundle one last tug with my hand to make sure it's in place before turning towards the door. Right before I push the door open, I remember to take my mask and hand it back to the boss. He gives a snort as he takes it back, waving a hand to shoo me out and on my way. As the heavy door lumbers shut, I hear him call out gruffly,
Take care.
I love him. He's so good.
Do it. Do it. You will take care of yourself. Oh.
Just a tiny sliver of the plant's interior is visible past the closing door, and I give him a wave of the hand before turning back towards the street.
As he sorts 900 other salt package bundles
For
every other delivery person.
Yep.
And you're like, these ones are mine. And there's a mountain of everyone else who wasn't quite as early to work.
Him going, thanks.
It's always you. You're first.
It's always you. All right. Time to begin my route.
I love how there's this feel of like a letter carrier or something. Of just going, this is clearly like a public service.
I love that you're a parcel worker.
It's so fun.
Very charming.
I say, but it's really charming in that way of like feeling like the milkman or something. But more so even of this feels more solidly like a community service.
But I was also going to say here, what really entertains me is that this is a very connected position in its own way. It gives you both an outsider's kind of perspective and a way to sort of passingly meet everyone in the way that a romance or a dating game would work. So it gives you really good solid excuse, but it also gives you an actual position rather than just going, now we need to make you incredibly special and unique, and here's the position where somehow you meet everyone.
I was going to say, as far as romances games, like Otome games are concerned, the setup of this one for who your main character is and how they know everyone else here or meet them is really wonderful. Because first of all, they're not just meeting everyone, they actually know them at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is really nice, and we commented on that a lot in the first playthrough, going, these aren't a bunch of strangers. And two, there's no contrivance of suddenly you need to do something different in your life.
Yes.
It really is just, the exposition is built into their regular routine.
Right.
Which I think is very charming and lovely.
It is really thoughtful, actually.
It's a really great way to go, I don't have to have a massive change happening at the start of the story. I can just start you in their normal action.
I also think it's really interesting still that, again, you're involved in the community, but you're also a little bit distant from the community. So, but it really doesn't try to put you in a position of you have more power than anyone else, or going, I'm the one the whole world centers on. I have to tell you, like, I don't mind having a power fantasy where you're sort of playing a character that basically is the center of all the attention in the universe, right? But it is also really damn refreshing to meet someone who's just sort of, it is really genuinely feels very normal, very comfortable, and also it exposes itself well, and you just get a chance to see things going on without it going, you're going to be making all the huge giant changes here.
The story, it doesn't try and make itself bigger than it is.
Yes.
And it's very appealing.
I'm so glad we don't have another world ending today. Woo! I've been delivering salt for several years now. Though I was uncertain when an acquaintance first suggested the job to me, I've really warmed up to it since then. The workload is consistent and predictable, my boss is nice, if a little gruff, and the neighborhoods I deliver to are full of friendly people.
Plus, I get to do all of my social on my route without thinking about it.
It's really good.
Hey, starting on your route for today?
Yup. Have a good morning.
You too!
I love footies. So this is so good. You actually get to see.
I love this.
So here's a little bit of Vil here, which I really appreciate. Looks really good.
So when we first played this
actually wasn't here, I believe.
I know it was there.
Was it here?
But I had canoned that Vil was a Tara form, and that you had these, and they were all feet, and then there was more body up here, up above here, because you would have to carry the salt without touching your hands to the ground. Because I've worked in a food-safe manufacturing environment before, and I went, you couldn't possibly run on the hands you were going to hand people salt with.
I know.
But it turns out that Vil is not, but I was very fascinated by the idea.
I still like the concept, honestly, and you know what, it's our damn game. But I also will completely acknowledge, like, this is also still a fun idea. Like, there's nothing wrong with it in that way.
Oh no, it was just one of those things of when we knew nothing, I was like, well, you can't possibly put your hands on the ground if you're gonna handle food with them.
Right?
Ah!
Well, and if you actually want to see that play, it's actually up on YouTube. We were just doing a more constructed play here so that people could actually see a little bit more organized.
Well, also, we did it as a really long stream.
Live stream.
Yes. So this is meant to be much cleaner.
My hindclaws dig a little into the ground, kicking up small clumps of dirt with each step. I quickly fall into a comfortable, galloping gait as I take a hard left outside the salt processing plant and start heading down the street. Huge slabs of buildings loom overhead on both sides. This block doesn't have many residents, as it's mostly factories. I pass by those quickly. No deliveries to make just yet.
I love that it's huge slabs of buildings. So a lot of times I'll talk about language used in writing things. And in this case, since you literally have things made out of flesh, meaning in the flesh, the slab of building is like a slab of meat. And I think that's very charming.
But it's also like a slab of stone. It works perfectly well.
It works in both ways.
It's a good entendre.
Yes.
But I do have one delivery to make at the corner up ahead. And we will have to make that in the next one. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Obviously, we actually both know the individuals involved in InkEthic Studios. We don't know Miru very well, but we do know Hal.
We have been introduced, nonetheless.
And we have been introduced. So we are really excited to actually play this. We really want to see their new game, so we figured we would actually do this for them, unprompted, of going, like, we want to play your game and try to have more people go check out your other work. When it comes out, actually, in February, as far as I understand.
So they have, their newest game is debuting
on February 14th?
On February 14th as like a Valentine's thing. It's going to be the preview. But the thing is we are going to have the trailer in the description below in this video.
Yep.
And it's really amazing looking. You can see how far it's come, as well as it's a much bigger, much more ambitious game than this one. And we're very excited about it.
And they've got 5 love interests, not 3. Ooh. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, interact with the video. We really would appreciate it if you did so. It actually helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Please also feel free to go check out our Ko-fi, Patreon, and our Twitch, where we did, like we said, we originally streamed this game. We stream lots of other games on Tuesdays and Thursdays through the week.
Yep.
And sometimes we do more streams. We would love to see you there. We also do our own art, which we have added into the lineup, as it were. But yeah, I have been Scandal.
And I have been Lies.
And it was great playing with you.
Bye!